Sam Shapiro back here with more of your Heat latest on FanArc. Don't forget to drop a like on this video and, of course, subscribe to our channel for great daily content, all pertaining to your Miami Heat right here Monday through Friday. Training camp is officially tipped off with the action getting underway Tuesday. And Pela Larson, besides Tyler Herro, was the only non-participant for the team. He's dealing with a bruised left quad that he injured in the final Eurobasket game for Sweden. He was seen working on the sideline at times, but did not participate in the scrimmages or any of the team drills. He was, again, the only player to not participate with the exception of Tyler Herro, obviously. But Spoelstra also weighing in, saying he doesn't have an exact timeline on Larson's return, but adds that he's going to do more work each day, at least up at this point in time. So, again, not the most optimistically exciting thing to see that Larson is kind of dealing with this kind of injury, but because of the lack of reports that we had kind of seen from from just really in the grand scheme of things, especially it not really being touched on in media day on Monday, it doesn't scream to me that this is a glaring injury that could potentially impact him from maybe suiting up for Miami for the tip-off of the regular season. So, again, I'm hoping this is not really a major deal, and that's kind of why a lot of this hasn't really been public information up until really this point, but still dealing with the left quad injury, and hopefully that won't at least keep him out for the entirety of training camp. Again, not the biggest deal in the world if he can't suit up, because, again, it's just training camp, preseason, right around the corner, and the regular season a little over 3 weeks away at this point. So, again, I think because of the lack of reports and just it really not being touched on, it doesn't really scream to me that this is an alarming injury that should be of worry, at least to Miami's backcourt at this point in time. But it's definitely something that's being monitored with caution, and that's why I think Larson was kind of sidelined, doing some work on the side, obviously, but not really going full speed and participating in a lot of the team drills and scrimmages going on. So, again, just hoping this is not anything super serious, but definitely one revelation that came out of training camp yesterday. And now moving over to kind of another question mark really looming over Miami's backcourt, Drew Smith and his ability to potentially be playing a big role in Miami's backcourt and overall rotation, because especially now that you take Tyler Herro out of the equation, he's really going to be one of those guards that's going to have to step up and hopefully be contributing at least at the one spot behind Davion Mitchell as well. And, you know, it's interesting as well. He's coming off an Achilles tear last November, and then, or November, December, somewhere around that winter, but then also an ACL tear in the season before that. And it was interesting, Spo weighing in saying Drew Smith has a superpower with his grit to recover from injury, but said the team will be mindful as they work him into the rotation over the next couple of weeks. And obviously, two of the most, I feel like, worrisome injuries for most NBA players to potentially kind of have to deal with over the course of playing in an NBA season, let alone back-to-back ACL following an Achilles tear, is definitely no roadblock for any athlete to really overcome. So the fact that Drew Smith is still hanging in there and seems very at least healthy in Miami, being optimistic that he is going to be able to work into the rotation at least at some point in time, it's kind of screaming to me that he's hopefully going to be able to make at least a big impact, at least in some depth that could add to Miami's backcourt, at least at this point in time right now, because Tyler Herro definitely not going to be suiting up until November. And I think when you kind of factor that in, you need a guy like Drew Smith to be healthy, at least on standby to potentially kind of rotate in and out through Miami's, overall rotation. So, again, optimistic to see that Miami is expecting him to be healthy and kind of has grit and tenacity to overcome a roadblock like an Achilles tear following this ACL tear in the season prior. So, again, I'm hoping that he is going to make a big splash for Miami's backcourt this upcoming season, and I'm hoping that the optimism kind of shows and he is able to really contribute for Miami's backcourt, assuming that he is able to kind of work his way into the rotation and use training camp kind of as a stepping stone towards really becoming a focal NBA player for this rotation in the grand scheme of things. And now moving over to some other news that's kind of been a hot topic, now going to be a hot topic starting today. Tyler Herro now eligible for that veteran contract extension, and he kind of voiced that he's pretty confident a deal will be made, whether in some way, shape, or form. He's now extension eligible from at least today until October 20th for an approximate 3-year, $150 million deal. He said, quote, yesterday, I expect to get something done. I'm not going to lose my joy. I ain't going to lose my joy. It's not that important to me. Being here is important, but being here at a respectable number. So also kind of interesting to see him throw some jabs at Jimmy Butler, who was not experiencing joy kind of on his way out of Miami and voicing that pretty clearly before the trade deadline last year. But it's interesting. I feel like it wasn't superly common known either that Tyler Herro and Jimmy Butler had some beef or maybe some sort of animosity towards each other. I thought they had some pretty good chemistry on the court together when they were able to play together at least. But it's nice to also see that Herro pretty optimistic about kind of his entire situation, because I feel like at least most teams or players in his, or at least most players in his position wouldn't necessarily come out and say, oh, a deal is going to get done in some way, shape, or form, and I feel like I'm going to get some sort of number that I feel like I deserve. He also kind of explained how he said, quote, I have a number in mind as I did on my last contract extension. That's why I didn't expect the max, because I wasn't pressed on it, and I'm not pressed now. So does he necessarily think he's guaranteed, maybe in the max type of deal he could possibly receive? These words don't necessarily speak that to me, at least. And I think because of the injury, we will probably not see a deal worth $150 million given to Tyler Herro before that October 20th deadline. But especially when you're really only an offensive firepower and then defensively was kind of a liability in the playoffs last year, you're not really worth upward towards $50 million over the course of each season for 3 seasons. I could definitely see him more in that at least $30 million range, maybe even potentially being 35, 40, potentially on how the team kind of meshes and how the first couple of games during the regular season go. But if Miami can't really find the pieces to make it work and get it together over the course of the beginning of the regular season, then he could be worth maybe upward towards more $40 to $45 million maybe. But again, he would also have to potentially come back, be less of a defensive liability, and then basically pick up where he left off offensively, which is not always the easiest thing in the world coming off an injury. But definitely it's a reassuring thing to see him excited and optimistic about potentially getting an extension and, really being a focal piece in Miami to stay for the long haul, especially because now he's just kind of, I feel like, solidified himself as a real cornerstone piece in Miami's rotation, at least for the next couple of years. But everything changes in the NBA. Only time will tell, and hopefully he'll get a contract extension that doesn't necessarily tread on Miami trying to save money at this point in time right now, but will also kind of make him happy and content with not just the number he's able to stay with Miami at, but in terms of what he's able to potentially what he is able to efficiently do for Miami going forward into this regular season. And now moving over to some other comments Spo made over the course of the training camp in the last couple of days. He had talked a lot about how he wants the team to play this season and definitely improving on the overall pace of how Miami is going to play. And I think, one focal point that was kind of harped on was this is a younger team and the ability for, and I had mentioned this in the last episode, seeing when players are able to pop, but also weighing on just the pace that this team is going to be able to play. And don't get me wrong, Miami is definitely not an inefficient team with at least their playmaking ability when they need to make clutch plays. But this definitely impacts how quickly they are able to capitalize, at least offensively. And I think because of their lack of speed and just the overall pace they play with, it definitely maybe wouldn't work as well for this team that's a little bit younger and could capitalize on maybe playing at a faster pace. Over the last 4 seasons, Miami's ranked within the bottom 4 teams in the NBA, not averaging more than 97 points per game over those last 4 seasons out of all the teams in the NBA. So I think this right now is a great time to kind of capitalize on wanting to play fast, and Spo weighed in on that as well. He said, quote, "I have an idea of how we want to play. I love our speed and quickness and youthful exuberance." So I just think that that kind of alludes to Spoelstra kind of encouraging a more fast-paced offense, at least, that we're hopefully going to see from this Miami team, or just really the cadence, how they play overall, both in the transition game and really on both sides of the ball, honestly. So again, I'm hoping that this is kind of Spo alluding to, we're really trying to push this younger roster to play at a faster pace, because over the last 4 seasons, that's definitely not been one of our strong suits. And don't get me wrong, over the last 5 seasons, Miami has had a much more successful run in comparison to some of the seasons from when the big three kind of dissipated. I would say around at least that 2016 to 2019 mark. It's just been how this Miami team has been able to come out on the floor has definitely been very different, and especially because they've been playing from an underdog position, but still making late postseason runs, winning major league clutch games, but still doing that while playing a slow pace, really playing at a slow pace. I think this definitely kind of, again, kind of alluding back to what I said last episode about a new fit, like Miami really playing in a new this is a new chapter and a new face Miami team, and I think that kind of entails playing at a faster pace, and Spoelstra kind of being behind trying to get this younger team to really work towards playing and being more efficient, at least on both sides of the ball, more offensively at a faster pace at this point in time. So drop in the comments what you think. Would Miami potentially benefit playing at a more faster pace, getting more possessions, and really being able to capitalize on trying to score the ball more, getting more attempts to score offensively in that regard, in comparison to maybe slowing the game up a little bit and then just trying to grit out stronger, more efficient plays? Because a lot of teams in today's NBA, I feel like, play at a much faster pace. Obviously, the stats kind of show that as well, especially over last season. And although Miami was a playoff team, and even though they played at a slow pace, they were able to stay very successful. The hope is that playing at a faster pace this season more could at least help them stay in relevance to that regard, if not maybe playing even more efficiently, because now they're kind of moving at a faster pace in, and hopefully with this younger team. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Your Heat Latest here on FanArc. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, and of course subscribe to our channel for great daily content, all pertaining to your Miami Heat right here Monday through Friday. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Sam Shapiro. Have a great day.